we go. Oops. Hey, you get to watch me on my MacBook video camera. Webcam, as they call it in the industry. This is called the WebdriverIO Workshop. It's something I put together this past week that's got a bunch of exercises. 6, even though it says 7, there's actually only 6. This link doesn't work. I need to update that. I keep forgetting about that. But anyway, what it does is it's just a series of exercises that you can kind of use as a workshop to learn WebdriverIO. I am going to throw that in the chat right there, and have a link to it in the video when I get this video uploaded. But I'm hoping to get some recordings that I have from a workshop that I gave yesterday on this, but it's basically how to install, set up WebdriverIO with Sauce Labs and Cloud9. That way you don't have to worry too much about getting nodes set up on your environment, but if you do want to just use it on your local environment, you can do that too. But each of these have a series of exercises, and you can expand and collapse those exercises, the answers kind of. They're basically the solutions, and try out how to run WebdriverIO, and you just keep going through the exercises. It goes through Mocha, Chai, and assertions. It runs through common commands, utility commands, pause and debug. It doesn't cover CI/CD. That was something that I wanted to, but wasn't able to cover. So be it. And then finally, there's some further steps. Oh, that's because that link is incorrect. It should be 6. Next step. Some other items. Hey, look, WebdriverIO Wednesdays. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, let's get some people in the chat room. I'm going to... Hey, folks. Okay, see if we can get some people to show up. Always fun to have some watchers and listeners, all of that. And in the meantime, I want to get back in with Appium. We were looking at Appium last week and trying to get that running. And I figured out, I took a look at it this morning, a small look at it, and noticed that, well, every time I try to open Appium, it like freezes my, whatever that's called. I forget what that's called. And anyway, yeah, I took a look this morning while at the airport and was able to make some progress. I think one issue that I ran into was my Git version was out of date. Carthage, which is one of the tools that Appium was using, or WebdriverIO was using, one of them was using, that was requiring a Git version that's above 2.2 or 2.3, and I had 2.2. So I updated my Git version, and then I tried to run it again, and it turns out that you have to have an internet connection in order to run it. And at that point, I had already shut off my internet because I was getting ready to board the plane. So I'm gonna give this a shot real quick and see what I can get going with it. Okay, npm test. And let's see if we run into that same error. I think if we run into the same error, I'm gonna give up trying to make this work locally, and I'm just going to throw it over to Sauce Labs and try and get set up on Sauce Labs, because that should be more useful, I hope. And here's my simulator, and let's see what red errors pop up when we're doing this. So yesterday I was at Mini WebCon up in Minnesota, and it was a great time, and I got to see snow on Monday, which is always fun for a Texan boy like me to see a little bit of snow. So that was neat. But it was also really cold, and it made the walk back home, or back to my hotel, quite cold, believe it or not. So let's see. You know, while that's running, I should get the server up. It's a different error. Oh, oh. That was weird. What was that about? No, that doesn't look good. Nope, I gotta type in the correct letters. How are we doing? Oh my gosh. 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 It worked. Did you see that? Did you see how that happened? It worked. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's exciting. Let's edit our test file. So what do we got? chai.js and oh, this is a complex example to have attributes. So yeah, I need to install chai WebDriver for this example. It's probably not the best thing to try and use that. Unmet dependency Appium. I guess that was probably from when I was messing around with trying to get the Appium server running, or the Appium service running, and wasn't able to. So yeah, that's that. Okay, hey, let's try running this one more time. I'm amazed and happy. NPM test. So Mini WebCom's a pretty cool place. It's a one-day conference, I guess 2-day conference. One day is just regular talks. They have three tracks, which is really nice. You get a lot of variation in there. And then the second day is workshops. So they do 3 different workshops, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Mine was in the afternoon. And it was a lot of fun to get to present there. They've got some folks who I like seeing and meeting there. I think I'm just gonna get rid of this for a second. So just give me just 1 second. Oh, to have attribute is not function. I bet I have like an older version of chai WebdriverIO installed. Let's see. I'm gonna delete that and then run my installation again. No, it doesn't like that. Whatever, I'm just gonna take that out and I'm just gonna remove this test. And then I will make a new test. /Appium.js. And what are we gonna do in Appium? Let's do some tunes. So first thing I'm gonna do is set up my describe block. Test. And then inside of it, it should do something very cool. And we got to figure out what cool thing it's going to do. So I'm going to close that. I'll save it. Appium. I'll go ahead and, well, do I have, how am I loading my Mocha? Okay, I'm not loading chai, so I needed it to variable chai, or variable expect is equal to wire chai dot expect. Okay, so we're gonna open the app browser.url, and this is a new change that just came down in WebdriverIO 4.8. So I'm on 4.62 right now. I'm about to switch to 4.8. The way that the URL is set up is new, so pay attention to that, because it got me. And I like to put a slash in there just to say that I'm going to like the base, but that was actually taking me all the way to the root of the URL. So instead of keeping, like, there was a sub folder here, so it was getting rid of that and treating it like just the root. So it would work here because it uses the root anyway, but it was causing some trouble when you do have a subdirectory. So watch out for that. I'm just going to stick with, I don't know, that for now, and because it should work on either one. So I'm going to load the URL. Let's jump into the Appium docs for WebdriverIO and see what they have that we can try out. API. So this is all under mobile. We can, let's get the orientation of the screen. Browser.getOrientation. spell orientation right? I think I did. And then I will log out my orientation. What else can we do? Hide device, hold, install app, is app installed. So some of the stuff is for app specifically. Orientation. I'll probably set it. Ooh, that's kind of neat. Let's try changing the orientation. That would be fun. So we're in portrait mode when we start. We're gonna set it to landscape, and then we're gonna do the same thing again. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's run that test. Yeah, it looks like all that trouble was with getting Appium set up was related to my Git version that I had going. So let's browse, so it loads up a basic browser, and then now it should go to the URL. Once it starts, there we go. So it loads the URL, and it should switch the orientation for me to try that out. Come on. So it should be getting my orientation. Okay, there it gets the orientation. Oh, look at it, switched it. That was cool. That was very cool. So we had portrait, and then we switched over to landscape. Very neat. That is something very cool. So it does do something very cool. What else can we do with that? What else can we try out? We have multi-touch, touch action, press a key code, push a file, let's see, rotate, and that's probably the same thing as orientation, right? Set a geolocation, set orientation. I don't know what the difference between that and... Oh, orientation may not want to use this because it's not part of the official WebDriver stuff. So how about set orientation? That's probably better. And it uses the orientation protocol. So I like that better. So I'm just going to switch over to that. Yeah, there we go. What else? So set orientation, settings, shake. Ooh, you can shake the screen. Swipe down. That's kind of neat. If you have like a menu that you need to swipe on. Turn Wi-Fi on and off. Touch. And unlock. What happens if we swipe down? So it'd be like that. I think we want to swipe up. Oh, we can set a speed to it. So this is basically scrolling down the page. So okay, so we want to load the URL again. So since I'm loading this URL multiple times, I'm going to set this in a before each function, or hook, as it's probably more properly called. Move it out of there, back down, and let's see. So we got a selector. So I guess that's what part of the page we want to swipe, element to swipe on. So I think I'll just do the body. Makes sense. Body. And then we can set a Y offset, which is, so, and the number of pixels to go per second. So speed, probably want like 100 pixels per second, and then we'll do a Y offset of 200. Let's try that. So let's do browser.save screenshot for white. After swipe. Try that out, and let's run our test and see how things go. So if you didn't watch the previous episodes, I do have the simulator running, but I have the Appium app installed, and that's how I have my server all set up. I had to do some installation stuff through, well, pause it, or I'm not gonna show it right this second. I wanna see how this swipe action works. But had to do npm install Appium. There's rotated, and I wonder when it goes to the next. Yeah, method has not yet been implemented. Ooh. So swipe down, use swipe, and probably, I wonder what method hasn't been implemented. Touch flick hasn't been implemented, I think is what's going on. So touch flick. Deprecated, please use touch perform instead. Ooh. So, looks like this needs to be updated in the official library itself. Touch perform, so in here, in my swipe source, and there's a touch flick method. Oops. Let's see where we use it. So we use touch flick here and there, 2 different places. And let's see what touch perform does. Oops, perform. Touch action as object or object is actually for touch configuration. Okay, so you have the action that you want, and then some options for it. So we want to press it, and then what are those options? I guess where we're going to press it. What other... Long press, tap, wait, move to, and release. So I guess we would press, then move to, and then release, and that would count as our swipe. So we really wanted to do the actual, instead of doing touch flick, like we could implement a touch flick method ourselves. Let's see what touch flick does. Here's the source of that. Okay, so it is trying to make an HTTP request to Selenium, or I guess it would be Appium in this instance, to try sending a flick command, and I guess that's just not. But what did that say? Obsolete. Whew. Fun. So let's see if we can find touch flicking here. Element click. We have touch screens. There's no touch flick. What was the other one that it wanted us to use? It wanted us to use touch perform instead. So let's see if touch perform is on here. No, there's no touch perform either. Huh. Yeah, this looks like just a bunch of fun reading here. A bunch of fun reading. Okay, so yeah, it looks like touch flick isn't going to be working for us, and which means that swipe isn't really going to be working for us right now. Maybe we could look at updating this in a later episode of this, but I think the only other thing I want to try out. Oh, I do want to show. Just a second. Well, it's in my history. That's all that. Okay, let's search Appium. I'm trying to find the Mom Meat Coffee. That's what it's called. Mom Meat Coffee. Like that. So this article is what kind of got me started on all of this, and what I was mentioning is that you needed to install. Where is it? Carthage. There, that's it. So install Appium, Appium Doctor. You don't actually have to do this, I don't think, if you instead use the Appium app. I think that'll work. I did have to set up Simulator in iOS under Xcode. You do have to have Xcode installed if you're going to test on iOS devices. And then you install Carthage. Make sure your Git version is up to date. You can check that by doing git --version. and you'll see it right there. And I guess I could try my Android simulator. Let's see if I have that path. No, I don't have the path for Android set up. What did they do for that? Episode mode. I do have Android Studio, I believe. I do have Android Studio, but it's not hooked up in my path right now. So let's see if opening up Android Studio is actually going to would possibly fix that issue. New versions available. Path variable. No, that's not what I want. I'm trying to figure out how to get Android into my path. ADK SDK, Android SDK home. So I'm going to go into my export. So I do have Java home here. I'm going to export this path, and I'm going to set it to Android SDK home. Hopefully that helps, because when I ran Appium Doctor, it did complain about a couple things. So it didn't like that. So it does have Java home. Android home isn't set. And then ADB Android emulator can't be found because Android home is not set. So I wonder if this just needs to be Android home. Let's go back. Whoops. Android. So I kind of want to see what they're putting. So they do have set Android home to installation Android SDK and path, and they add the tools in the platform tools. So let's see, in my exports, I'm setting Android SDK, which is different from what they have, but I feel like it's the same. So I'm going to change this over to Android Home instead of Android SDK Home. That way it can be used here. Okay, so I made my update to my exports. I need to source that file, which is basically loaded in. And now I should have a Android Home. I do. And let's run Appium Doctor again. Okay, that's better. And then if I run Android SDK like it was telling me to do in here, that's probably going to load Android Studio, I think, but we'll see. We'll see what it does. Hold up the SDK manager here. And there's a bunch of stuff, so they wanted us to choose a Android 4.4.2, but I think I already have some installed, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Let's see, I have Android 7.11, so I'm not going to load this old one, but I do want to start my Android device. I'll close that, come back over to my terminal, and see what that does. Cool. So I do have a device here. And then what's it say? Click create, enter all the information. ADB name device. So I can choose a specific device that I want to test on. target, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just edit this device. Go with that. That's what they chose. Now we're going to add iOS. We already did our iOS simulator. So I want to try... Yeah, so I need to figure out what my device names need to be for Android. So I'm actually going to, let's see, how do I, device definitions? Okay, let's jump back in here into my configuration file. I've got my device here, and then I thought I had yeah, I had this, but I took this out because we're running Appium via the Appium app, so I don't need it in here. So I'm going to comment this out and throw in browser name. Let's do Chrome. Device name. That. Close the SDK. I don't need Android, or the Studio. I don't need the Studio. But the platform version, I guess it'll be 5.0.1. And then platform name. Let's try Android. And I'm going to do the Sauce Labs configuration editor because they do their platform configurator. They do have an Appium set up. Appium, and then under here I'm going to do Android emulators, I guess something like this, Android and Appium version. Okay, web testing is what I want, and then I'll throw it over, no, so the browser name is going to be browser, I think. What am I testing on? I'm testing on the Nexus 5, so let's actually change that to the Nexus. Galaxy Nexus emulator. OS, Android 4.4. Okay, so it is named browser. Move that over. Samsung Galaxy Nexus emulator, portrait, platform version, platform name, Android. Okay, let's try this out. I still have the device manager running. And we'll come to an end shortly. So I can close out of that simulator. And let's see, national device theme. That's how we do it. Waiting. How is Appium doing? Okay. Couldn't find a connected Android device. Maybe I need to start the device. What do they say in the blog post? They don't. Okay, well that's loading. While that loads. Give it a second. Oh, good, it's updating. Nothing like updates. Okay, my device is loaded. Let's try running a test and see if that is what it wanted. I have a sneaking suspicion that isn't quite what it wanted, but we'll see. Oh, it did get it. I'm able to find active device emulator with OS class 01 following unavailable. Oh. Okay, what do I need to put then? Strange, because... Okay, well, I'll switch over to the other one. So it was saying... I guess I'll just change it to 5.0.2. Then I gotta go through... Oh, there's my emulator. Appium's chugging along. Looks like it's actually somewhat happy. It unlocked the screen. So it did unlock. Hey, look, my old app that I had going on. And it brings up the browser, and it kills the browser. Yeah, that was fun. That was fast. Probably not the best. So it's using Chrome driver. What happened? I had it for a second. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's not a good sign. Are you emitting a system alert message? Hey, there we go. I don't want to choose a wallpaper. What do you mean? Why are you asking me to choose a wallpaper? Wish I could minimize this so you can actually see it all. Oh, no, stop it. Stop it. Appium driver create session. It's like half promising and half just you have no idea what it's talking about. Half drunk. It's a lot. So I had to do a lot to get the Android SDK installed, but I did that a while back. I'll probably have a very out-of-date SDK, which is partly why this could be having some trouble. But I'm probably not going to cover installing the Android SDK because that's a mess and it's going to be out of date. And so there's lots of other resources out there to get that installed. And if you don't want to do any of that, then there's always a cloud service like Sauce Labs or BrowserStack or TestingBot, one of those. Let's try opening up the browser again. Chrome was not reachable. Oh. I don't think this is gonna work. So I'm just going to well, I don't know. What are you doing? It's like it wants to work, and then it's just like, no, I don't want to work, and then it does, and then why is it when I move my cursor over this, it thinks that I've clicked it? I haven't clicked it. I want to choose a wallpaper. I want to start Chrome. That's all I want to do. Oh, look at the time passing. I'm done. I'm done. No, we're done with that. It was fun. Just abort it all. I'm done. That's it. So the lesson to be learned is stick with iOS, I guess, even though I like Android. I prefer Android over iOS. Fits me better. Not to say that it's better, just that it fits me better. And that's what's important. But what is super important is that we did get Appium running by going through the blog post here, running through some of that. We had to install Carthage. Didn't necessarily have to install Appium, but it wasn't a bad idea. And then I got my iOS set up. And then in this capabilities, we had to change this around a little bit when we were trying stuff out. I took out XCUI test, took out that, so it ended up looking a lot more simple, just like that. So it was browser name Safari, iPhone Simulator 10.3 iOS. And then in here they also used the Appium service, which I didn't end up using because I'm using the Appium app. It's kind of a funny way to say it, but that's the Appium app. And so I left all that in. I did set up Selenium standalone, that way I can not have to worry about starting a Selenium server. And then I commented out all these Appium arguments because we don't have the Appium service running, so we don't need all that. So that's what I did. And then what did I do? Did I change the timeout? Yeah, I increased the timeout a little bit. All that. This you don't have to do because, well, yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. And then this as well, if you have the Selenium standalone service, you shouldn't have to worry about that. And then this is just a basic test to get all that running. So I think that's it for today. Next time maybe we'll look at getting this going through a cloud service to see if that's any easier now that we know that we can get our test to run on it. And maybe we'll take a look at that touch flick command and the swipe command and see if maybe we can create a new one. Or maybe update swipe to use, instead of using touch flick, use this, the other one. What was the other one? Touch perform. Yeah, so we'll try that out. So thanks for watching along, and leave questions or comments in the comments. I guess you can only leave comments in the comments. Sorry about that, but I will see y'all next week.